The rain hadn't stopped falling since the clock struck midnight on New Year's Eve. While others celebrated the start of 2025 with champagne and fireworks, Michael Turner sat alone in his apartment, staring at the ceiling. The thunder outside mirrored the storm inside him. Nothing about the past year felt worth celebrating. His business had failed. His relationship ended in heartbreak, and his health had taken a back seat. He was 37 and felt like a shadow of the man he used to be. Michael once ran a thriving digital marketing firm in Austin. He had a great team, happy clients, and a future that seemed unstoppable. But the pandemic years brought with them uncertainty, layoffs, and broken partnerships. One decision after another slowly unraveled everything he had built. Pride kept him from asking for help, and by the time he did, the damage was beyond repair. He'd lost the company, the condo, and himself. Yet, as he sat there on that rainy January morning, something shifted inside him. It wasn't a sudden jolt of inspiration. It was quieter, almost like a whisper. "You're still here." The words echoed in his mind. His business was gone. His past relationships gone. But he was still here, breathing, capable, alive. And if he was still here, maybe, just maybe, there was something left to rebuild. The first morning of 2025 felt heavier than most. Michael got up, splashed cold water on his face, and looked at his reflection in the mirror. He didn't recognize the tired eyes staring back. But he decided then and there that he was going to do something he hadn't done in a long time. Start again. Rebuilding wasn't going to be a dramatic, overnight transformation. It would be messy, but it would be worth it. He started small, waking up at 6:30 every morning, just to build discipline again. He deleted social media for the first month and replaced that time with journaling. The first entry was simple. "I don't know who I am anymore, but I want to find out." And so began a journey that would redefine his life. One of the first things Michael did was reconnect with old mentors. One of them, a retired Navy veteran named David Holmes, lived just outside of town. David had known Michael since college, back when he was full of fire and ideas. They met at a quiet diner, and over black coffee, Michael poured out everything: the shame, the failure, the burnout. David listened without interruption and then leaned back. "You know, Mike, failure's not the end of the road. Sediter. It's your chance to take the long way and see things most people never do. You still have your mind, your heart, and your fight. That's all you need." Those words stuck with Michael. He began rebuilding his body too, understanding that physical strength would bleed into mental resilience. The first week at the gym was brutal. He could barely lift what he used to warm up with. But he showed up every single day. He learned to love the sweat, the ache, and the process. It was never about instant results. It was about commitment to becoming better than yesterday. Then came the internal work. Michael enrolled in a weekly group therapy session. At first, he was resistant, even embarrassed. But the stories he heard from other men and women reminded him he wasn't alone. There was power in shared struggle. Divorced teacher. A recovering addict. A father who lost his child. Their courage gave him strength. He began reading again too. Not just self-help books but biographies. Of people who had fallen and gotten back up. People like Abraham Lincoln, J.K. Rowling, and Nelson Mandela. He saw the same theme again and again. Pain doesn't have to be your prison. It can be your platform. By spring, Michael had a new rhythm. He had started freelance consulting to make ends meet, and surprisingly, his first few clients came from referrals. Word got around that he was back in the game, this time with humility, hunger, and something he never had before: perspective. In April, he met Claire, a school counselor volunteering at a community workshop on mental wellness. She was warm, empathetic, and had a past of her own. They didn't rush into anything. They met for coffee, then again for a charity event, and slowly a friendship blossomed. She didn't judge him for his scars. She saw strength in them. As the months passed, Michael began noticing something different in himself. He wasn't chasing validation anymore. He no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. He was becoming someone who could walk away from his ego, someone who valued growth over perfection. He became more intentional about the people he surrounded himself with, the content he consumed, and the thoughts he entertained. In July, Michael gave a talk at a local seminar about rebuilding after failure. He shared his story, not as a hero but as a man who had fallen and decided not to stay down. The room was silent when he finished. A young man approached him afterward and said, "I was thinking about giving up, but now I think I'll give life one more shot." That moment changed everything. Michael began writing about his journey online. Small blogs, videos, and later a podcast titled Rebuild 2025. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. He focused on practical advice, honesty, and sharing what worked for him. Within a few months, he had a small but loyal following. People connected with his vulnerability and his refusal to sugarcoat the process. By October, Michael's consulting business was thriving. But more than the financial success, it was the internal wealth that mattered. He woke up every morning with purpose. He no longer dreaded Mondays. He meditated, worked out, read, and mentored others. His relationship with Claire deepened. They weren't trying to complete each other. They were walking alongside one another. The hardest part of rebuilding wasn't the effort. It was forgiveness. Michael had to forgive himself for the years he wasted, for the people he hurt, and for the times he didn't believe in himself. He wrote letters to people he'd wronged, even if he never sent them. He apologized to himself in the mirror. It was awkward, emotional, and necessary. Rebuilding yourself isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world made you forget. It's about peeling away the shame, the doubt, and the fear, and stepping into your life with fresh eyes. On December 31st, 2025, exactly 1 year later, Michael stood on the rooftop of his apartment building, looking out over the city skyline. The rain had stopped. Fireworks were beginning to crackle in the distance. Claire was beside him, and his phone buzzed with messages from people he had inspired throughout the year. He thought back to the man he was 12 months ago, lost, broken, and hopeless. And now here he stood, not perfect but whole, not fixed but rebuilt. Rebuilding yourself doesn't happen in a moment. It's a daily decision. It's found in the silence of the early morning, in the reps at the gym, in the courage to ask for help, and in the grace to forgive yourself. Michael Turner's story is not extraordinary. It's the story of millions who hit rock bottom and decide that the only way left to go is up. So if you're reading this and you're in that dark place, where nothing makes sense, where you feel like everything has fallen apart, know this: you're not alone. And you're not done. This is your year. This is your turning point. It's time to rebuild yourself in 2025.